The tale opens with warplanes poised to strike. An attack erupts from below, but brave soldiers escape, release a bomb on their target, then fly away. Focus shifts to young Lewis, a rascal who tried alcohol and cigarettes despite parental scolding that failed to change his ways. His older brother Pete differed completely. When Lewis got caught drinking in a field and people chased him, Pete watched his brother sprint incredibly fast and was amazed. Pete encouraged Lewis, believing he could become a great runner due to his speed. Lewis doubted himself, claiming anyone could run like him and that he wasn't special like Pete. Still, Pete believed in him and promised training. Pete started coaching Lewis. Later at a school race, Lewis participated but ran slowly without trying to win. When Pete urged faster running, Lewis's pride flared and he ended winning the race. Next scenes show Pete biking alongside Lewis as he runs, with Lewis visibly aging. In another race competing for Olympic selection, Lewis poured his heart and soul into running. Another runner attempted to trip him, but Lewis didn't retaliate, running faster instead. He set a new record and was chosen for the Olympics. On the Olympic train, Pete advised that no matter how hard things get, Lewis should always believe in himself and never lose hope. Lewis left for the Olympics where his race began. Initially, he didn't perform exceptionally well, and his family listened sadly on radio. But Lewis held hope. As the final lap began, he remembered his brother's words, ran with incredible speed, and set a new world record for the last lap in just 56 seconds. This happened at the 1936 Olympics when the stadium erupted in cheers. Lewis's mother, father, and brother were beyond happy. Lewis's next goal became the 1940 Tokyo Olympics, dreaming of bringing home gold for his country. That dream vanished when World War II began in 1939 and Tokyo 1940 was canceled. Jumping to 1943, Lewis joined the American Army on a mission with two others to attack an enemy plane targeting a Japanese camp. They succeeded as seen at the start, but on return their plane was badly damaged with one companion seriously injured. Landing became dangerous, yet the pilot managed safe landing even with a broken tire. Later, Lewis ran again with a friend following in a jeep. Friends arrived with orders to go to the sea, finding stranded people. They took their damaged plane flying once more. Soon one engine burst into flames, then the second engine failed. With no choice, the plane plunged straight into the sea. Only Lewis and two companions survived while the rest were lost. They escaped the sinking plane using a small inflatable boat and against all odds stayed alive. The surviving companions were named Mac and Phil. Mac, losing hope, told Lewis they wouldn't make it, but Lewis insisted soldiers doesn't give up easily and they would definitely survive. Lewis found food supplies on the boat, including chocolates and water. He told companions they must eat one chocolate morning and evening since rescue timing was unknown. Three alone in the vast ocean, seeing only water everywhere, they spent the entire night on the small boat. Next morning, hope appeared when a plane flew overhead. Excitedly, they fired their flare gun, but the plane passed without seeing them, shattering their hope completely. Lewis noticed the chocolate packet empty and angrily shouted at Mac, who had eaten all chocolates at once, claiming hunger. Lewis argued this made a huge difference Mac couldn't imagine. They spent 3 more days on the boat with hunger and thirst showing on their faces, praying to God for salvation. God seemed to hear when a large bird landed nearby. Lewis looked at companions, knowing they must catch it to eat. Mac grabbed the bird, satisfying immediate hunger, but food came right back up as they all started vomiting raw food. Phil suggested catching fish using the bird as bait, so they started catching fish one by one, eating raw fish to survive. Not good food, but necessary when life hangs on the line. Problems didn't end that night when a storm rolled in over the sea with huge waves rising, terrifying them. Then rain started, and after many days they finally drank water, filling stomachs. Everyone's condition was terrible, but today, after 27 long days, they saw hope again when another plane flew above. They signaled and fired the flare gun, but this Japanese plane attacked instead of rescuing. All three jumped into water to save lives, while the Japanese fighter kept firing bullets, hitting their small boat, creating a hole. Now only one damaged boat remained. Many more days passed with 45 days in the sea. No human survives 45 days with so little food and harsh conditions, taking toll on Mac, who couldn't handle it anymore and died. People were sad, leaving him alone in the sea. Lewis and Phil started waiting for death, but fate had something else. After a few days, they saw a shadow and bright sun that brought new darkness. Not a tree's shadow, but a Japanese ship. Japanese soldiers captured them, taking them to a camp deep in the jungle. The camp head recognized Lewis, having a newspaper clipping with Lewis's Olympic photo. During World War II, with America and Japan at war, Lewis became their enemy. To eliminate enemies, they locked Lewis and Phil in a dark room, beating them severely. Next day, ordering clothes removal, Lewis and Phil obeyed, kneeling down. Lewis couldn't bear this humiliation as tears fell, days later sent to a new Japanese camp holding thousands of American soldiers as slaves. Terror filled the camp, with everyone treated cruelly. Camp head Corporal Watab deeply hated Americans, telling everyone they were Americans and America their enemy, so treatment would reflect that. Lewis looked at him while others kept eyes down. Corporal noticed, went to Lewis demanding eye contact. As Lewis looked, Corporal hit him with stick, warning never to look again. This was an ordinary camp where even strong people lost courage. Night fell with soldiers sleeping in terrible places no animal would live, helpless. Next morning, Corporal told everyone one was Cook, and another Olympic runner asking who the runner was. Lewis raised his hand. Corporal made Lewis race against one of his men, but Lewis was tired and injured without strength to run, falling down. Corporal came saying Lewis was nothing, not worthy of winning Olympics, starting hitting injured Lewis. Corporal seemed determined to break Lewis, targeting him specifically, knowing he wasn't ordinary and wouldn't give up easily. Some soldiers planned escape, but attempt failed. When Corporal found out, he treated them like animals, beating them badly. One day working, Lewis and Phil looked at sky, noting American planes were close and could attack any time. Corporal overheard, waking them midnight, beating severely with belt. Days later, Japanese radio people came calling Lewis, saying American army told his family he was dead, asking if he wanted to tell family he was alive. Lewis went to radio proving alive, saying talking first time in 2 years, telling family not to worry as he was fine in Japanese training camp, lying nothing bad happening, telling mother he missed her food, ending crying while saying Merry Christmas. Family cried, feeling sad remembering their son. After this, Japanese officer gave paper asking signature, saying whatever written must be said on radio with bad things about America. Lewis refused to sign, unable to betray country. Officer said signing meant comfortable American life, but Lewis still refused. Sent back to camp, where Corporal welcomed, saying New Day One Lewis was strong like them. Could be friends, but wouldn't happen because Lewis was American and Corporal hated Americans. He said Lewis had one weakness, not believing in anything, but today would teach belief. Corporal put Lewis before all American soldiers, telling everyone to come forward and stab Lewis, but Americans refused to hurt him. Corporal brought injured Phil, saying these people killed and badly injured him, saying if they don't start stabbing Lewis, he will kill Phil. Lewis told everyone to come and kill him. Then everyone started slapping and stabbing one by one. Beaten by so many, Lewis was badly injured but saved friend from dying. A scene making you cry, feeling Lewis's pain. Days later, cold weather arrived with snowing in camp. All prisoners put on comedy show to laugh and forget pain. Then Corporal came sitting next to Lewis, telling promotion to Amore. Lewis was happy hearing this, meaning Corporal leaving. Days after Corporal left, bombing occurred in camp, killing many prisoners and Japanese soldiers. Camp destroyed by fire. Moved to another camp in Amore. Next morning, arrival showed prisoners standing in line when camp in charge arrived, being none other than Corporal. Seeing him, Lewis felt ground slip, struggling, but companions stopped falling. Lewis understood Corporal won't let him live. New camp worse than previous, with all prisoners weak and injured, still made to work. Dangerous work removing coal from boat in cold. Once Lewis filling coal, a prisoner fell from height, dying, making all prisoners very scared. Days later, while Lewis worked, Japanese soldier pushed him, causing fall and bad injury. All prisoners tortured, but even after falling, Lewis didn't give up, getting up, working again. But how long working cold without food or water? One day working, Lewis started resting. Japanese soldier took him to Corporal, saying Lewis not working. Corporal ordered Lewis to pick up a heavy wooden beam. Lewis was already exhausted and barely able to stand, but he gathered every ounce of strength he had left and lifted it. The corporal then commanded him to hold the beam above his head and instructed a Japanese soldier to shoot him immediately if he let it drop. As the minutes passed, the beam slowly began to sink. The entire camp fell silent. Prisoners stopped working and watched anxiously, wondering whether Lewis would be executed. Just when it seemed he could hold on no longer, Lewis remembered the words his brother had always told him: "No matter what happens, never lose faith in yourself." He reminded himself that he was an Olympic runner and that giving up was not an option. With a powerful cry, Lewis summoned his last bit of strength and raised the beam even higher. Then he locked his eyes on the corporal. The corporal couldn't tolerate the defiance. He repeatedly shouted at Lewis to stop staring, but Lewis refused to look away. Furious, the corporal rushed forward and began striking him. As the blows rained down, memories of his family, his brother, and the countless hours of training flashed through Lewis's mind. No matter how hard the corporal hit him, Lewis kept staring back. Eventually, the corporal became exhausted. Realizing that he could not break Lewis's spirit, he stopped and sat down in frustration. Lewis finally collapsed from exhaustion and spent the entire night lying on the ground before waking the next morning. A few days later, all the prisoners were gathered together. A Japanese officer announced that they would be allowed to bathe for the sake of the country's future. Many prisoners feared it was a trick and that they were about to be killed. As they bathed in the river, they suddenly noticed an aircraft in the sky. As the plane came closer, hope spread through the camp. It was an American plane flying over Japan. The war was over, and they were finally free. The prisoners erupted with joy. After years of suffering, starvation, and brutality, liberation had finally arrived. American planes soon dropped food, drinks, and other supplies. While everyone celebrated, Lewis couldn't stop wondering why the corporal had hated him so much. Before leaving the camp, he visited the corporal's cabin, but the man had already fled. Lewis sat quietly, reflecting on everything he had endured since childhood. When he finally returned to America, the first thing he did was kneel down and kiss the ground of his homeland. He then embraced his family, and tears flowed freely as they were reunited. The film ends by revealing that it is based on the true story of Louis Zamperini. After the war, Lewis married in 1947 and had 2 children. His fellow survivor Phil also returned home, married, and built a new life. The corporal, known as the Bird, disappeared after the war and remained hidden for years. Later in life, Lewis returned to Japan seeking closure, but he was unable to meet the man who had tormented him. In a remarkable final achievement, Louis Zamperini fulfilled his lifelong dream of running in the Olympics once again, carrying the Olympic torch at the age of 80.